Welcome to episode 236. Today on Book Chat, I am interviewing author R.J. Garcia about her young adult novel, Nocturnal Meetings of the Misplaced. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Hey everyone, I am your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction podcast. Here on Book Chat, we get bookish with roundtable book discussions, book recommendation lists, interviews, and more. Be sure to check out shelfaddiction.com for even more content. Before we get started, let me tell you a bit about today's interview guest. R.J. Garcia is a wife and a proud mom. She earned her MSW and worked with foster children as a school social worker. She has published several nonfiction pieces. She has been writing short stories for as long as she can remember, and to her amazement, those short stories became novels. If you'd like to comment on something you've heard during today's episode, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Shelf Addiction. The links for everything related to today's episode are below in the show notes. Hey RJ, welcome. Thank you for coming on today. I'm really excited to talk about your book, so let's get going.
Great. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so let's start with the one question I ask everyone. Share with us what's on your reading stand right now.
Oh, okay. What's on my reading stand right now? Well, actually, I'm beta reading, and I started reading it again. And I have some Stephen King novels that I've been taking out, so I kind of got a couple different things on my nightstand.
Oh, cool. So tell me, do you love it or do you not love it? Because I hear so many different conflicting things. I have yet to read it, actually.
You know what? I love it. It's so amazing to read his work because it is so in-depth. And then it's just sort of amazing to me. Even like the way he describes the town and the city, it's almost like a human, like a living creature. He just has such I guess, attention to detail that it's kind of great to read him. But it does, you have to really kind of concentrate. It's not like an easy, light read.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any go-to authors that you just auto-buy without even thinking about it?
You know, actually, I go more, I know this sounds pretty bad, I go more by reading the backs of the books and the covers, kind of what draws me in. I do like to read a lot of YA. And I am a little bit attracted to the suspenseful kind of reads, I think. So, yeah, I don't have just one writer that I read.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm starting to read more indie writers, too. Since I am an indie writer, of smaller publishers and things. You can discover so many different great writers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a couple that you'd like to recommend?
You know what? There's this really nice little book called Bacon Pie. It's from Evernight Teen. That was just a really cute little love story. And there's been a few of them. And then Ghost Files I had read that I think they're making a movie out of it. It was an indie book too. That was just a really good read. And of course, there's a lot of good books from the Parliament House Press, but I don't want to be prejudiced because that's my publisher.
Right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your writing style. Do you have any maybe books or authors that you would think that have like influenced your style a little bit?
You know what? I think I used to read a lot of mystery books because my mom did. When she would finish Mary Higgins Clark, I would sneak the book, or she would read Stephen King too. And I would sneak the books away and read them. And I think that probably everything you do in life kind of like shapes your writing, all your experiences too. So even my work, because I work in social services, I think it's kind of a combination when I write. Because I think I picked up a lot of stories as a social worker also. So probably, and even what you watch on TV, I watch a lot of like true crime, cold case shows. I think they all kind of, the reading, the experiences, even what you see on TV, it all kind of plays a role in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you listen to any true crime podcast?
No, I don't.
No? Oh,
but see, I think I'm going to be listening to more podcasts because it is sort of it really is interesting.
Yes. And since you love true crime, I'm telling you, it's like going down a rabbit hole. You'll start on one and you just can't stop.
I do watch BuzzFeed Unsolved on YouTube, which is really interesting to me. I always watch them. They're so funny too. So
Yeah, I've watched that too. They add some comedy to it, which is kind of
Yeah,
fun.
they do.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the book we're here to talk about today, which is Nocturnal Meetings of the Misplaced, which is, let me just first say, the cover art is so unique. How did you choose it?
Actually, I didn't choose it. Um, the publisher, Shane Lighton, she actually came up with the cover. I would not have been that creative. I mean, I really admire what she came up with. It was really outside the box. I was thinking, oh, trees, and because it's for kids meeting out late at night in the woods. And she kind of came up with something just so unique. It's taken from a little part because the main character, Tommy, would go out in his apartment and he'd try to look for the stars, but he was in the city and he couldn't really see the stars because you can't always see them in Chicago. And she took it from that part, which I thought was really interesting, kind of interesting take. And then the way she put the skeleton face on him kind of showed that there's some kind of mystery or something coming.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting.
It definitely has that goth kind of feel a little bit.
Yeah, kind of goth. And then kind of
Yeah.
a Snapchat, the way everybody kind of puts the filters and the different faces on.
Yeah, totally. So this is a young adult mystery, right?
Yes. Yes, it's really a coming of age suspense mystery. When I was originally pitching it, I was saying coming of age suspense. And then everybody was like, well, this is a great mystery. So I'm like, yeah, I guess it is a mystery too.
You know, that is really cool that you did a mystery with this age range because I don't come across many bona fide mysteries that are like where the main character is like 15. Like that's really like just in that range that you just don't see a lot of YA. Usually they're like 16, 17.
Right.
How did you settle on
And
that?
that's probably more marketable in a way, but because I had trouble, like a lot of people be like, they're only considering when the manuscript when the protagonist is 16. But in my head, I saw them as 14 and 15, and I couldn't get that out of my head for the story. And I really like that age because they're really on the cusp of becoming teens. They're kind of in between young adult and kind of like that awkward age. And I don't know, I really liked that, age group. I think it's very
Mm-hmm.
interesting time. And I've worked with a lot of adolescents in that age group too, as a school social worker and working with DCSF.
Oh, nice. Well, tell us a little bit about the story. High level, you don't have to spoil anything. Tell us what your book is about.
Okay, well, the story starts off when 15-year-old Tommy Walker and his little sister are sent to a relative placement in the country with relatives they've never met because of their custody being from their mother being taken. And there's really where the story starts. He meets his neighbor who invites him to late night meetings in the woods, and he's like, "Well, I don't really have anything else to do but torture myself with thinking about everything." So he decides to go, and that's where he meets the other characters. He also meets two girls, and that's where he kind of starts to hear little things about this cold case murder and kidnapping, and so that's kind of where the plot starts.
That's different. So are they trying to solve the murder rather? Are they trying to figure out what happened or?
Well, not initially, but he sort of gets more and more intrigued and almost obsessed about this. One of the girls that meets them out, she's actually a little younger, but she's probably the toughest one in the group.
Mhm.
She gets them. She has a little bit more personal stakes invested in this, and she kind of pulls Tommy and Finn into this at first, but then Tommy really starts to like uncover some things that make him suspicious. So he's really in 100%. When the other
Mhm.
two kids in the group are kind of more they're there just because they become such good friends and they really bond.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Tommy. He's 15. He's the protagonist of the story. I really like when I see a male point of view in YA, especially from a female writer. It doesn't happen very often. So tell me a little bit how you thought up Tommy and why you decided to make him like your main character.
Well, actually, I was inspired after I met a boy in foster care who was just such a good kid, and he was so resilient. He went through so much, and he was taken away it similar for a similar background, like a mother that had problems with addiction. And I saw more than one case of that, so he's really a composite. But I really like the resiliency I saw, and I really admired that. And when you're the social worker, they really open up to you. So you really
Hmm.
get to kind of understand them. And I thought, I wanted to do him justice and that whole group that's so disenfranchised to give them a voice, because foster kids, they have it so rough today. Because
Yeah.
it's such a hard time. You're taking them from something that's negative, but you're also taking them from somebody they love. So, it's just
Yeah.
it's a really difficult time for them.
Yeah. It can be conflicting, for
It is
them.
really conflicting. And
Hmm.
I try to show a little bit of that because he has such a deep love for his mother. The things weren't perfect and a lot of things were wrong that were, there was a lot of love there too.
Yeah. Well, being that, he was in this situation, that
Hmm.
kind of makes me wonder, are there any, I guess, things that you would consider like trigger warnings for people that are going to read the book?
Yeah, there is domestic violence in it. The kids in this that do become friends, they kind of bond. They have pretty tough home lives, except for,
Hmm.
I would say, the one girl, Annie. She has a family that's pretty intact and happy, but she does have a hard time fitting in at school and does get bullied a little. But that's not one of the main issues there. But they kind of all bond because they do have difficult home lives. Because it's
Hmm.
like Tommy was removed from a mom he loves, and Finn, his neighbor, is living with a stepfather that's abusive. So they're kind of like bonding in their angst in a way. They're both going through their own issues.
Right. So when you started writing for Tommy and Finn and the girls,
Mhm.
which of them came easiest to you? Which did you like writing for the most?
Well, the odd thing is, people tell me because I've written a lot of short stories too, that they prefer when I write from a male perspective, which is really odd. I'm not sure why that is, but I've been told that before. Um,
Hmm.
but I think I do both well because I hear these voices in my head, kind of like talking to me, like, and I kind of try to write to tell their story in the right way. Probably Tommy was the easiest because he has the biggest part, so I kind of like tapped in on that the most. And then Finn is next to the lead. I'd say he has a pretty big secondary role, and it's also told from his voice also.
Well, as this is YA, usually there is that little bit of romance in YA. Is there any for Tommy in this, or is it kind of just strictly?
Oh, there's definitely romance in there. And the funny thing was, I hadn't really planned it. I did have one romance plan that he would catch the eye of this almost kind of seemingly perfect girl. And I didn't really know where it would go. I did have the mystery plot of it, or the suspense plot of it, more mapped out in my brain. But the romance went in a different direction than I initially intended. I felt like two characters were being kind of drawn together. So there is a love story in it. There's actually a couple. And I think when you're that age, you can really fall hard so deeply in love, even though it may be puppy love, it may not last forever. That you can't really deny it. That at that age, you are falling in love with someone. So I didn't want to, ignore that aspect. And sometimes it's a little fickle too. So I think I addressed that. It's not like Edward and Bella. Oh, I'll love you for 1,000 years, but it can feel really deep to them. And I think it's a
Yeah.
little more realistic of what I've seen working with adolescents.
Yeah. With all of this stuff going on in this book, I would love to know, how did you kind of hone in on the cold case that you wanted to delve into? Is that something that was also inspired by real life, or did you just make it up?
It was inspired by some cases I heard, and you know how truth is always weirder than fiction.
Hmm.
There was more than one case I heard about a kidnapping, but I did change it a lot. But yeah, it was inspired by probably more than one true event. There's really probably nothing you can make up because I mean, so many strange things have happened in our world, right?
That's the truth.
Pretty much a lot of seemingly unbelievable things happen.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to come across it in a slow, kind of natural way that seemed realistic and not rush it. I wanted it to have more of a real life feel, sort of a slow burn to it. Like I wanted to have the reader get to know the characters first and be a little invested before everything went a little too crazy.
Yeah, so we kind of delve into the characters a little bit, get to know them a little bit before all the crazy stuff starts.
Yes.
Yeah, I like slow burns. I mean, especially stories that are character driven. Would you say this is more character driven than
Yeah, it is
anything
character
else?
driven, and I think I always kind of write stories that are character driven, even
Hmm.
my short stories more because yeah, I'm kind of like I try to think of the character and about the character a lot before I even start writing. And like there's some background things that I don't even use in some short stories. I try to get an idea of a character.
Nice. Okay, so I am an absolute advocate of audiobooks, and I'm so glad to see that you are also turning this into an audiobook.
I was so excited about that.
Yeah, how did you go about finding the perfect narrator?
Actually, that's from the Parliament House, and they had interviewed a few actors, and Shane like did let me hear a few of the actors, some of their audio recordings. And the actor that I mean, I liked them all. But she found some really good actors, but the actor that she did decide to go with was one of the ones that I really liked. So yeah, I mean, he's got a lot on his plate, and I noticed he even tries to like do different voices for different characters, which I really appreciate. And it's a lot of kind of acting and emoting in this story, so he did a really great job.
Who is the narrator?
Oh, I don't even know his name. I feel so bad. But
Oh, we'll figure it out when it comes out.
yes, we will, and I'll make sure I put that on my social media and things and give him credit.
Okay, when is the release date for that? It's coming soon, right? By the end of
Yes,
the
it will
year,
be the
maybe?
end of 2018 or in January 2019. We don't have an exact. I
Okay.
don't have an exact date yet.
Okay, well, I am excited for that. I love a good audiobook. I mean, it really, you can reach a whole new audience just that way. So definitely congrats on that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, is there anything else you'd like us to know about nocturnal meetings of the misplaced before we do our lightning round?
Um, no, there's just I think there's some positive themes in there about just because something bad happens to you doesn't make you bad. So I think that's a really important message for a lot of kids that are dealing with a lot in their life.
That is a good message. It's a strong message. And a lot of books kind of don't share that. So, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I'd also like to ask you what you're working on next.
Well, I have finished a novel. It's YA Suspense 2. It's about a girl that wakes up in an English boarding school knowing the name of an infamous serial killer still at large. And then she has some male friends are kind of trying to figure out who this is, where this person is. So it's a little bit, has more of a paranormal element in it.
That sounds fun.
And then I'm working on another one right now too. So,
Oh, are those 2019 releases or a little bit further out?
yeah, I don't have an exact date. I'm
Yeah.
hoping for 2019.
Awesome. Well, everybody, you guys have to follow RJ all over social media so you can find out when her books and audiobooks are releasing. You don't want to miss out on that.
Oh,
And you can
thank
definitely
you.
pick up a copy following the link below. You can pick up the ebook now. It's available now. So
Oh,
definitely
thank you.
check out the show notes.
Awesome.
Yes. Okay. So let's do the lightning round. I love this part. It's so fun.
Okay.
Let me run the rules down for you. So it is 60 seconds. You just answer as many questions as you can. Some are book related, some are not. Some questions are open ended, and others require you to pick one or the other. The only rule is that all of the questions you must choose one or the other or answer. You can't skip.
You can't skip.
You can't skip.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it's fun. Don't worry.
All right.
Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's start. Physical books or ebooks?
Physical books.
Hero or villain?
Hero. Sorry.
Beer or wine?
Oh, wine.
Bookstore or library?
Library, because I'm a little poor.
Oh, yeah, I
But
like
I like
libraries.
both. I just can't do the bookstore
Yeah,
all the time.
I know, go broke, right? Android or Apple?
Oh, probably Apple.
Vodka or gin?
Hmm. Oh, if I have to pick, I guess vodka.
Yes. Okay. If you could pick one superpower, what would it be?
I think I would want to fly. That would have to be awesome.
Awesome. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Cliffhanger or realistic ending?
I like the realistic, kind of bittersweet ending.
And hot chocolate with or without marshmallows?
I want whipped cream, but marshmallows are good too.
Okay, time's up. See, that was easy. Piece of
That
cake.
was easy. That was fun.
Yeah, I love it.
See, and I drink margaritas, so when you said the vodka thing.
Oh, you're a margarita on the rocks or
I'm
frozen?
a margarita if I do drink, yeah. I love margaritas.
Do you do on the rocks or frozen?
Actually, on the rocks for some reason with the salts.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good that way.
Isn't it? I love that. Some
Yes.
chips and salsa. You gotta have chips and salsa.
Oh my gosh, that's like a meal. No lie.
Yeah. You love to go out and eat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing that, RJ. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And again, everyone, you can follow RJ Garcia via all of the links in the show notes, so don't miss out on that. And hop on over to the blog post and listen to a snippet from her audiobook. So that's it. Thanks for listening today, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Happy reading. If you enjoyed today's book chat episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcast and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy all things bookish, including author interviews. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.